Hello again, everyone. Just want to do a quick video today on a topic that I've been meaning to get to. Been extremely busy the last couple of days, but I wanted to get to it because our president-elect mentioned BRICS, at least recently. Now, those of you who know that I've been following this channel for a while know I've been talking about BRICS for several years. Let's see, let me share my screen real quick. Yeah, there's my first video on BRICS, which was over 2 years ago. I think it was sometime this summer. So I've been talking about BRICS for like 2.5 years now. So Trump talked about BRICS. He talked about tariffs. He talked about economic positioning, the economy, what BRICS is doing. Let me just share my screen and let me go over some of the messaging that's happening out there. Also talk about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Then I'll come back and wrap it all up. But before I do, if you like this kind of content, like this kind of discussions, please leave a comment down below. Like, share, subscribe. Helps out the channel. Helps out, share the tweets as I post them out there. I'm trying to get more impressions and more of a presence on Twitter, moving away from certain platforms that don't allow you to speak as freely. You get the idea. So let me share my screen and we'll walk through. There's the video again. So let's start right away here. This is, okay. So here is our president-elect's tweet brought over from Truth, and I'll just read it verbatim. So Trump says BRIC countries will face 100% tariffs if they dare to create a new currency to replace the mighty US dollar. So exactly what he said, the idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar, which is capitalized, that's interesting, while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. Now, in addition to that, there have been a couple other tweets and things that I'm following about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There was recently, I will find the tweet now. Hold on a second. Okay, here's another tweet. I will share these all in the description. Let me grab this one real quick. Dennis Porter, who's definitely worth following, he's working a lot on pushing Bitcoin adoption globally, especially on a state and a national scale. But he says if stop to sell. This is the U.S. government had transferred almost 20,000 Bitcoin to I guess Coinbase to sell. This is something they did also after Bitcoin 2024, when our president-elect actually spoke there, as did RFK Jr. So basically, the incumbent team is trying to push us away from Bitcoin while everyone wants us to move forward. The three tweets I wanted to share: Senator Loomis, I believe she's out of Wyoming. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, there we go, Wyoming. Looking forward to discussing digital assets and the future of my strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation in the upcoming Congress. That's actually today at 4 p.m. as I record this. I don't think I'll get this out in time, but probably watch the replay or listen to it. Again, Dennis, the old chair of the SEC is opposed to Bitcoin. The new chair is going to support Bitcoin. Times are changing rapidly. So, and then lastly, at this point, let's see. Elon should direct the U.S. government to take all of the waste discovered by the Doge team and use it to buy Bitcoin for the U.S. strategic reserve. Again, the SPR is needed. That's the future, and so on. So, let me drop out of there and come back to you, and let me give you my take on this. Again, I've been talking about BRICS for years. I've been following what Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, those are the original 5, plus the additional countries like Egypt and Iran and Saudi Arabia, a few others that have joined, and many other countries are considering joining. First off, BRICS. BRICS is an economic alliance. It's not military. It's an economic alliance for trade. There's talk about using a common currency of some kind. They have not decided on one yet. They last met, I think it was in Russia a month or two ago. It was October, November. I think it was October. There was talk about a currency, but they haven't enacted on it. But they are basically looking for an asset-backed currency. They don't want to be part of the dollar hegemony, the dollar initiative. The global reserve currency that is the dollar was a great idea when it was backed by gold, but now that's a fiat currency, and going off the gold standard in 1971 has really diminished the ability of other countries to compete on a level playing field for economics and trade. So, and with sanctions and the SWIFT system, Russia and other countries are like, we need a better system. So that's why they started BRICS. And again, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and other nations meet annually and talk about what is in their own best interests as trade partners and alliances and so on. And one of those things is not the dollar. So because the dollar can be sanctioned, the dollar can be the SWIFT system. Russia was sanctioned 3 years ago when they first moved into the Ukraine, and they had to find other ways to trade with other currencies and countries because they couldn't sell their oil directly. Now there's like there's like all kinds of things that they do. For example, they set up this area in I think it's the South China Sea, where boats line up next to each other, and they park next to each other. They just move cargo from one boat to another, so it's not flying the Russian flag. All kinds of games are played, and it costs time, energy, and money to do this, all because of these sanctions. So, bottom line, the BRICS nations want an asset-backed currency because they don't want to lose purchasing power. They want to have an economy that works and is on a level playing field for everyone, so that we don't have these issues of currencies going up or down and they lose value and so on, or the sanctions. Now, fast forward to our incoming administration in January, and by the way, it's taken way too long. It's way too much of a time between Election Day and Inauguration Day. The history behind that is interesting, of like they had to ride horses to the Capitol. We don't need that anymore. We should shrink that time. But anyway, come January 20th, we're expecting the new administration to come in and be very positive on Bitcoin. They want to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. A number of people in the new cabinet are going to be Bitcoin proponents. So, again, the bottom line, BRICS wants an asset-backed currency, and they want a level economic playing field. Trump wants an economic playing field that's fair to everyone, and he's willing to enact tariffs to get that fairness. And he wants that Bitcoin reserve. So they both want asset-backed currencies and level economic playing fields. So in my opinion, right, this is just my opinion, one guy on the internet, take it for what it's worth, I believe that this is posturing until January. I really believe that if you look back through the history, especially through his first administration, he was friends with Modi of India. He was friends with Putin of Russia. He was friends with Brazil. He was friends with Xi of China. So the Saudis love him. Egypt loves him. So all these players like him. All these players want to work with him because he's fair and honest and forthright. Yes, he's adamant about certain things and policies and create that playing field, but he's a proponent and a champion for America, which is what you want when you have a president of that country. Any president of any country should be a champion for their country first. It only makes sense. So to me, this is posturing. It's all posturing because they both want the same thing. And I believe that if there is a peace accord or an alliance or whatever happens between the U.S. and Russia, there is a path forward where the U.S. works with BRICS, maybe doesn't align with BRICS, maybe doesn't join with BRICS, but they will work out an agreement because that's what Trump does. He works out deals. He's the art of the deal. That's what he does. And I think as part of that, NATO, the importance of NATO is going to be greatly diminished. Now, NATO really has been a thorn in the side of the Americans for decades. They just don't realize it. And Trump tried to get them to pay their fair share and to step up to the plate and get things done. But NATO was originally founded because of the concerns of the Soviet Union. And if there's a peace accord between the U.S. and Russia, the importance of NATO is greatly diminished. So now, instead of France and other countries and Germany coming to NATO and asking for handouts and support from the United States, especially financially and military as well, but mostly financially, Trump can basically defund it and just say, like, you know what, we've got our own alliance. It works well for us. We've got all the BRICS nations. If you want to get aligned with us, that's fine. But we're moving away from a fiat currency to an asset-backed currency. This is going back to that original tweet where he capitalized dollar. Trump is also a constitutionalist, and he speaks about that many times. He knows, like, the founders' documents and their intent, and his team knows it too. The dollar was never intended to be what it is today. this Federal Reserve note, I'm going to get one out here. This debt instrument created by the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve note, that is a debt instrument. That is not backed by anything. You don't have silver or gold behind it anymore. So you haven't had that in over 50 years. So they want to return back to like something that an asset-backed currency, because then you don't like print dollars, print these things ad infinitum and just reduce the value of all of them. Because if you go from something costing one of these, and then you print twice as many, now it's going to cost this much, because supply and demand, and if there's twice as much of this, then anything that cost one of these is now going to cost two. It's just simple math. So the only way you prevent that, and the diminishing purchasing power of all the dollars in circulation and all the dollars in the books, everything that's out there, and work on the debt and everything, is get to an asset-backed currency, which is the original definition of the dollar, which is, I don't know, I think it was 314. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but basically a troy ounce of silver is a dollar. And if you go back in time, that used to be I think that was a day's wage, or an hourly wage. Sorry. So an ounce of silver now is, so if an ounce of silver was an hourly wage today, that's roughly about $30, which isn't too far off from being correct. And that's when we went off the silver standard back in the 60s, and we took the silver out of the money, and the silver quarters and the silver dollars stopped being silver. They were made out of tin and whatever after 1964. Only the half dollars persisted a little bit beyond that. But basically from 1964 backwards in time, those coins were all 90% silver. They actually had real intrinsic value in the coin. That's no longer the case. Now you have tin, zinc, or whatever, aluminum, whatever they put in the coins now. It's virtually worthless. Again, it's a fiat currency by decree. It only has value because the government says so. So to move away from that, we move to an asset-backed currency, create that strategic Bitcoin reserve as part of it, also move towards gold and silver, other things that back, like all the resources that America has, that has a ton of resources, backs the currency, creates that currency with value again, going back hopefully to something like the traditional dollar, the constitutional dollar, which was only silver, but it could be gold, it could be other things. But if we go back to an asset-backed currency, now BRICS is happy, and we can form an alliance together. And then maybe NATO goes away, and we don't have those countries in Europe begging for us for contributions to things that we don't really want to contribute to anymore. And maybe then, at some point, if one can hope, we all get to one currency, or at least a few currencies that are actually asset-backed, trade agreements between all those different nations with asset-backed currencies, in a level playing field for economics, so that we all can grow going forward. And if countries want to get on in lockstep with that, we can get there. So will we end the Fed? Will we absorb into the Treasury? Will we do all these things? Time will tell. But I think that this whole BRICS, it's all posturing by Trump, just to put that out there to say, if you don't do this, you're going to get hammered with a tariff. Same thing he just did with the border. So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Leave them down in the comments. I read them all. Respond back to the tweet as I post this up on X as well. And I'll see you next video. Take care.